Not saying I mean, I really don't believe in fate. I don't want to believe in it. I mean, it could be a thing and we could have it. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we make decisions. And we can sort of have a fate because depending on your nature, like I'm lawful good and chaotic neutral. I will make usually the best choice for those around me rather than myself, and I hold myself to a certain standard. So it's kind of predictable what I'll do in a situation or what choices I'll make. So in a way, I do have a fate that's pretty predetermined because, I mean, given circumstances of whatever choices I make, it'll always be on that set. And this is where is there a fate? Yes and no. It all depends on you. But then again, we're all unpredictable. Just because I am currently what I am and how I act doesn't mean I'll be that way forever. As much as they say people don't change, it's not that they don't change. It's just there's nothing to push them for the change. Or they're lazy as hell. Or they're so stuck in their way that they have to have something alter the way of thinking forcefully. And this is where I come into the whole thing where I don't force the story. Well, there are natural forces. Like someone almost dies. They should have died. Or at least in their they perceive they should have died. You know how they say, oh, you got a second chance at life, you better not waste it, kind of thing. Technically, they weren't meant to die. Their story was supposed to continue. That's why they're still around. At least that's how it's supposed to do it. I mean, unless there's a glitch in the matrix somewhere. You know, they were meant to live. They still have something to say, still have something to do, or somewhere to be. It's all about will and strength and circumstance, really. Because there are people who are on the brink of death and come right back because they're that determined to live. I'm not saying you can always choose whether you want to live or die, but I'm pretty certain that most people at the end, in a lot of situations, choose to die at some point, whether it's just they're in too much pain or they're going to come out of this with sipping through a straw and half partially brain dead, if not all brain dead, and stuff like this. So the spirit just says, you know what, it's not worth living, let's go, kind of thing. You're dying of cancer, stage 4 cancer. I don't think the cancer is actually what kills you. I just think the people are in so much pain and their body just is just so, you know, gone that they just decide, okay, it's time. I mean, I watched my father pass away from cancer, and I literally fully believe he chose to have his last breath because it was timed too well. He waited until my mother left, and I looked away for a moment. I don't think he actually realized I was going to look back because I was watching him for a while because I love my father and I didn't want to see him die. And irony. I looked away for a second because someone took the focus. Someone like patted me on the shoulder or talked to my ear for a second or something. I forget what it was. But I looked back and literally saw him take his last breath. And yeah, it shattered me. And it is what it is. But that's the thing about life. We have no true control over anyone but ourselves. And depending on how you live will depend on how the story goes. Decisions are decisions. Make sure you don't regret what you do. Think about everything. I mean, I think as a writer, you should actually be able to survive the world much better than most people because you spend your time watching story after story, living in other people's lives, watching what they do, and learning from and growing from it. I mean, at least I hope you are. I mean, I pay attention to everything my characters do. I've learned a lot. I mean, I was the wallflower in high school and stuff like that. I would always observe people. I would never really participate much. Did it purposely because I was avoiding the whole backstabbing scenarios and the fake friendships and all that. I had, I think, entirely just two best friends. One really good one and one that I saw every now and then. I had one who was more of a frenemy, and that's it. I didn't want to deal with anything else. I wish I utilized my time better. I mean, I did meditation for since I was 5 years old. And I'm not lying. Since I was 5, I had a boring neighborhood. I loved nature, so I always go out and just listen to it and close my eyes and meditate to it. But I wish I was writing then when I had the time, because now it's hard to get time. But when it comes to a writer's block, one of the biggest causes is forcing something, acting upon something which you should not be touching. Descriptions and stuff like this are okay. Obviously, when it comes to character developments and stuff like this, you might help them choose styles and stuff like this, and they become accustomed to it. I mean, after all, when you create characters, they do take on a persona, like a partial bit of yourself, because technically they are coming from you. So whether you have subconsciously stuff that your mind would like to do or see or whatever, feel, whatever, could be subinadvertently thrust into that character that becomes one of your focal points or whatever. It all depends on how you design your characters and the world and all this other stuff. And if you have them grow from scratch, they literally become like little versions of you. If you skip a lot of that, use our world, and just throw people in, they usually take characteristics from you, but not necessarily become like a version of you. Because at the end of the day, you're telling a story, you're telling it from your own interpretation of what's going on. So no matter what happens, the story will always come out with a feeling of you, the author. Your choice of word and structure carries all the weight of your own personality into the book. So it's one of those things where you're kind of creating, but at the same time you're observing, especially in the beginning. In the beginning, it's a little bit of both. And I found that when it comes to writing, if you can sit down and literally talk to your characters like they're real people, that's probably going to be the most successful writer you'll ever be. And the reason I say that is because you can learn so much from your characters, especially if they become that real that you can actually have communication with them. They feel a lot of stuff about themselves that help you further stories, especially if you're going to stay in that world and write multiple books. The characters are actually talking back and telling you things, and you're able to see the picture a lot more clearer